Hey everyone, and welcome. Let's just jump right into this explainer today, because we're decoding what is, honestly, a massive game changer in immigration policy. We're talking about Germany's Opportunity Card, or the Chancenkarte. Now, if you're a professional researcher or someone actively planning a relocation, you already know the old catch-22, right? The traditional route usually means you have to somehow secure a job offer from thousands of miles away before you can even think about packing a bag. Well, Germany has completely flipped the script. They've rolled out a 12-month visa designed strictly for the purpose of moving there first so you can hunt for a job in person. Today, we're going to break down exactly how this machinery works, the real-world trade-offs, and the critical decisions you'll need to make along your timeline. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the Opportunity Card explained, move into the two paths to eligibility, hit the financial reality check, discuss the rules on the ground, and finally, look at securing long-term residency. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the Opportunity Card explained, and what that first-year reality actually looks like. So this card was specifically engineered to solve a huge bottleneck in international recruitment, and if we look at the sheer momentum here, it is absolutely working. Between June 2024 and June 2025, they issued nearly 11,500 of these visas. Global talents are jumping on this. India is leading the charge by a massive margin, with over 3,700 visas issued, followed by China and Turkey. So the big takeaway? This pathway isn't just some abstract theory sitting on a government desk. It is highly active, and thousands of skilled professionals are leveraging it right now. And it's pretty obvious why it's so popular. The core solution here is physical presence. You're granted up to 12 months to actually live in Germany, totally removing the friction of needing an upfront job offer. You get to pound the pavement, attend interviews in person, and really integrate into the local market. But of course, there's a catch. You have to actually be eligible to get your foot in the door first. Which brings us to Section 2, two paths to eligibility. This is your fork in the road. This is essentially the first major decision point for any prospective migrant. I want you to mentally pause for a second and ask yourself, which eligibility path am I on? Because the entire strategy you build from here on out depends completely on your specific educational and professional background. Essentially, there are two distinct routes you can take to qualify. Let's compare these two side by side so you know where you stand. The first path is direct recognition. If you hold a German degree or a foreign degree that Germany fully recognizes as equivalent, congratulations, you're on the fast track. You are officially considered a skilled worker and you can just skip the points math entirely. But if your degree isn't fully recognized over there, you'll be taking the second path, the point system. For this route, you need a minimum of a 2-year, state-recognized degree from your home country, plus specific language skills, and you're going to need to score at least 6 points on their matrix. Now, before we even start calculating those points, we have to talk about the mandatory baseline. This is absolutely crucial. To even step foot into the point system, you must prove you have a baseline of language proficiency. We're talking either A1 level German, which is basically beginner level, or B2 level English. And a quick heads up, you can't just say, well, I'm a native English speaker. You actually need a formally recognized certificate to prove it. Okay, so assuming you've got that language baseline, how do you hit that magic number of 6 points? It's honestly more achievable than it sounds. You can piece the math together pretty quickly. For example, if you manage to get partial recognition for your foreign qualification, boom, that alone hands you 4 points. If your degree is in a designated shortage occupation, think IT, engineering, healthcare, that tacks on another point. Then they factor in your age and professional experience for even more points. So reaching 6 is totally doable if you just strategize your application. Moving on to Section 3, the financial reality check. Because, let's be real, you have to cover your living expenses. We have to talk numbers because immigration is an expensive endeavor. The German government demands strict proof that you are not going to be a financial burden while you're out there job hunting. 1,091 euros. That is the stark, mandatory net financial requirement you need every single month to sustain yourself. If you're planning to stay for the full 12-month year, that adds up fast. So how do you prove to them that you actually have this money? You've got some very strategic trade-offs to consider here. Option 1 is locking up your own capital in a blocked account. If you stay the full year, that means depositing over 13,000 euros up front that you can only withdraw in monthly chunks. Option 2 is getting a declaration of commitment from someone already legally living in Germany, who essentially signs on to sponsor you. But option 3, this one's fascinating, an auxiliary employment contract. You are actually allowed to secure a part-time job up to 20 hours a week before you even land. If that part-time gig pays at least 1,091 euros net a month, it completely satisfies your financial proof. If it pays a little less, you just top off the difference with a smaller blocked account. So really, the choice is, do you lock up a huge chunk of your savings, or do you hustle to find a side gig before you fly? All right, Section 4, Rules on the Ground. Let's talk about that 12-month clock. So let's assume everything went perfectly. You've got the visa and you just touched down in Germany. The second you arrive, that 12-month clock starts ticking. Let's look at the practical timeline here. Month 1 is basically eaten up by arrival logistics, registering your address, opening a bank account, figuring out your SIM card, the whole shebang. Months 2 through 11, that is your pure hustle phase. You can work that 20-hour-a-week part-time job to keep the lights on while actively hunting for your permanent qualified role. And you have to be aggressive about it, because in month 12, that opportunity card expires. It's a hard deadline. But wait, here is a massive secret weapon you have during those middle months, and it really proves the power of actually having boots on the ground. The visa allows you to do job trials. You can work for up to 2 weeks as a trial per employer. This is an absolute game changer. You see, a huge hesitation German employers have with foreign talent is that they just don't know how to assess foreign qualifications on paper. A 2-week trial completely bypasses that. It lets you get your foot in the door, prove your actual worth, and literally show them what you can do in person. Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, Securing Long-Term Residency, the end game. You have to remember, the opportunity card is not the finish line. It's a stepping stone, a temporary search visa. The end game is staying permanently. And the ultimate goal, the absolute key that unlocks everything else for you, is securing a concrete, binding offer for qualified employment. It can't just be any random job. It has to be a role that actually utilizes the skills and knowledge from your specific academic or vocational training. Now, there is a massive misconception here that trips up both employers and migrants, so let's clear this up right now. A lot of people think you need to have a full-time work permit in hand before you can sign a permanent employment contract. Actually, scratch that. It is completely backwards. You sign the employment contract first, and then you take that concrete offer straight to the Foreigners Authority to apply for your actual work permit. So what happens when you bring that signed contract to the authorities? You'll generally be converting your temporary opportunity card into one of 2 primary long-term permits. The first is the highly sought-after EU Blue Card. To get this, you need an academic degree and you have to meet a strict salary threshold. For new entrants to the labor market, we're looking at a job offer with a gross annual salary of at least $45,934.20. Now, if you don't quite hit that salary mark, or if your background is vocational rather than academic, you aren't out of luck. You just transition to the skilled worker visa instead, which simply requires you to be paid the standard fair market salary for whatever that role is. And here is where the timeline really kicks into overdrive in your favor. Once you convert your card via that job offer and start working, let's say under an EU Blue Card, you're suddenly on a super fast track to permanent settlement. You don't have to wait a decade. If you hold a Blue Card, you can apply for a permanent settlement permit in just 27 months. And get this, if you can prove you have German language skills at a B1 level, that timeline drops to an incredibly fast 21 months. So we've covered the eligibility paths, the intense financial proofs required, the pressure of that 12-month ticking clock, and of course that fast track to permanent residency. Look, it's a system that definitely demands a lot of hustle, deep preparation, and real upfront capital. But at the same time, it completely removes that historically impossible barrier of needing a job before you even arrive in the country. So I want to leave you with this thought. Is the trade-off of that 12-month ticking clock worth the ultimate reward of building a long-term, lucrative career in Germany? Take a hard look at your own qualifications, run that points math for yourself, and decide if the opportunity card is going to be your next big move. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.